Making Up for Lost Time by Dapper Little Arts. Chapter 1. It's You. Lyra and Bonbon are getting remarried. Again. And they're making it Ponyville's problem. Not that it was a problem to anybody. After all, Ponyville was the town for parties, joy, and revelry. As it always had been. This is where the magic happens, after all. It was just another excuse for the town to get together and have a good time. And Applejack minded least of all, as she entered the festivities looking for a certain someone. It was a quiet sort of lively, and the party was set on a handful of large tents in the outskirts of town, with a good view of all the houses in it, plenty of small round tables, lovely lights that hung from wires entangled on trees and around the tents. A band played calm yet loving jazz, and of course, the joyful mingling of the townsfolk. Their warmth protected them from the chill autumn air. And hey, free food, free wine. Who, at this age, could say no to that? The sun was setting behind the clouds, giving the sky an almost purple hue. That shade reminded her of that certain someone. The farmer's old, wary eyes darted around the crowds and tables, absent-mindedly greeting whoever recognized her, but looking for someone specifically as she pushed through the party with ease. And there she was, her last friend in Ponyville, the best part of her day. Rarity sat alone at a table at the edge of the party. Gaze idly rested on the partygoers, with a listless air to her. More than one wine cup into this soiree, she was dressed with a lovely dark blue coat, adorned with things Applejack would describe as shiny, but more aptly were reflective. Atop it, a lovely fur covered her neck, and as always, she was stunning. The moment their eyes met, it was as if the rest of the party simply wasn't there, faded into the background. Rarity's eyes lit up as she smiled, beckoning her friend over, and Applejack gleefully complied. It was an old, wary smile they both shared. "Look at you, all dressed up, and I didn't even have to ask. Is that one of the suits I made for you? You always did look handsome in a tie, dear." Her voice was raspier, but it spoke as sweetly as it ever did, as she inspected her farmer friend's outfit with adoring eyes. Applejack let her do as she pleased, adjust her suit, tighten her tie, anything she liked. It was nearly routine whenever she wore a Rarity-made outfit, and she didn't mind it at all. That closeness felt lovely. She smiled, being lost on the old unicorn's eyes, seeing the lights of the party reflect off her mane and coat lovingly. "You look good, Rares, but that much you know. I don't even got to say it." "Say it anyway," Rarity smiled, and hid that smile in her wine cup, bringing it to her lips. "You look gorgeous as ever, Sugar Cube." As usual, she was honest, and she reveled in speaking her mind, especially as she could see Rarity's cheeks getting redder, but that much could be indicative of the wine she was having. The unicorn let out a hearty, quiet chuckle, smiling more now that her last friend in Ponyville was here. "Graying is not a good look on me, darling. I'm running out of ways to pull it off." Her eyes trailed from the crowd to the night sky. Shaking her head, Applejack disagreed completely. Rarity had aged even better than the wine she was drinking. "That's a load of baloney, Sugar Cube. I think you haven't lost a step. Wrinkles here, gray hairs there. They don't change nothing. You're still stunning." With another quiet chuckle, Rarity fidgeted with her lovely mane. "Ugh, it's only natural, dear. I couldn't hold the title of most beautiful mare in Ponyville all my life, you know." Tipping her hat, leaning back on her chair, Applejack spoke honestly, as she always did. "Again, baloney. In this farmer's humble opinion, you're taking that title to your grave." That ever so slight reddening of her face and that adorable little smile perked up on Rarity's face as she side-eyed her friend. "Oh, you're just saying that." With a joking gasp and a fun tone, Applejack made light of the situation. "Gasp! Rarity the Generous calling me, Applejack, the Honest, a liar? Unheard of! Shameful! My integrity is besmirched." She really sold that last word, unsure of how to even pronounce it. Both of them shared hearty, quiet laughs, enjoying each other's company as they always did. It really did feel like the party simply faded into the distance. Seeing Rarity bring another cup of wine to her lips, Applejack raised an eyebrow. "Now hang on. How many of these have you had?" A sheepish smile, side-eyeing her friend once more. "A couple." Immediately springing to action, Applejack got up from the table. "I'm going to get you some water, and us both some snacks." Rarity couldn't hide her disappointment as she groaned. "Oh, but Applejack, you just sat down." "No buts. I'll be right back, Sugar Cube." Ever the dependable friend, she disappeared into the crowd with determination. Disappeared not being the most apt description, since she was taller than most, if not all, ponies present, and easy to see from where her friend was sitting. Rarity kept her eyes on her throughout the whole time. One of the partygoers must have gotten a bit rowdy, accidentally tipping over a large sound box. The music stopped, and the party, instead of groaning in disappointment, just chuckled, just as lively. And Applejack, ever the handy woman, interrupted her search to single-handedly and easily lift the amp back into its proper place, making sure no one was hurt, aiding the band to resume playing. And Rarity couldn't help but smile, seeing one of her oldest friends, as usual, be so chivalrous and helpful. Moments later, Applejack was back on the table, holding a tray that had several knickknacks with her teeth, placing down for them both to share. "You brought more wine." Rarity suppressed laughter, inspecting the contents of the tray. "Oh, that's for me, Sugar Cube. You're having the water and snacks for now. I don't know what these rolly things are. I think there's some sort of fruit salad thingamajig." With fluid magic motion and a shrug, Rarity served herself some water and hors d'oeuvres. "Good enough for me, darling. Go on, sit." She beckoned, and the farmer obeyed. After hydrating, she smiled once more, gazing at her old friend. "Well, darling, speaking of having not lost a step, I see age has not made you any weaker." With a long swig of a wine glass, she smiled back at her. "Heh, as long as I can stand, I can work. I ain't letting a few gray hairs stopping me from being the most dependable pony in Ponyville." "Another title that will be taken to the grave, no doubt." She took a drink of water, reveling in the presence of her friend and her strength. With another chuckle, Applejack piped in. "Speaking of all this title nonsense, I asked for more autographs yesterday. Some tourists came by the farm." Another giggle, another swig. "Ah, yes, the tourist. My clientele is varied, but more often than not, a group of fans stops by my shop, and on my franchises too. Sassy and Coco often forward the letters to me. Not that I mind. That infamy is certainly something I dreamed of." Scratching her own chin, Applejack took a bite of some of the snacks, nodding. That infamy brought both of their businesses some good. "I suppose it can't be helped, being legendary heroes and all. Did Twilight and Sunset raise more statues of us in Canterlot or something?" A chuckle at their friend's expense, and a bite of the snacks. "Knowing them, they'll have a whole museum in all of our names. The inheritors of Night and Day may be busy ushering in a new golden age of Equestria, but they sure seem to be often finding free time to be nostalgic." Leaning back on the chair, enjoying her wine, Applejack looked at the night sky ahead. "Can't blame 'em. They ain't called the good old days for nothing." The unicorn stretched and yawned, feeling weary, and then hydrated some more, with her eyes gazing at nothing. "The past is in the past, darling, no matter how much we miss it. I don't imagine I have the strength to go gallivanting around on some world-saving adventure nowadays. It's a good thing those two have a good rap on everything." The thought brought Applejack amusement. "Ha! Can you imagine if they got the gang together for one last adventure? A bunch of old ponies and 2 alicorn princesses saving Equestria, just like old times? That'd be a load of applesauce." "Yes, indeed, that would be absurd." She agreed, and they both got a bit quieter, with the mood dampening. They sighed. It was clear to both of them that an adventure would be a welcome break from the tedium of aging, but neither of them wanted to say it. As they looked down at the table, it was a silent understanding. It would be something. It would be anything, not the routine. They remained quiet for a little longer, memories swirling of years and years of adventures, now settled for a quiet life, unsure of what to say. Applejack decided to break the silence and change the subject. "So, Rares, you didn't come to their last remarriage. What made you want to come to this one?" With an inhale, Rarity picked her composure back up. "Oh, you know, Lyra asked me to do some of the effects for when they dance, and I have already been done with all my work for the week since yesterday. Spending today alone at home felt worse than seeing these 2 lovebirds do their thing. Again. Oh, and besides, free wine." a bad taste in the farmer's mouth as she realized the implications of loneliness from her friend. Dang, it's all done. It's only Friday, huh? At least you got a whole weekend free. Yes, hooray. I suppose I might visit the spa. I haven't got any plans besides our weekly Sunday tea. That last part, at least, made her smile a bit. Meeting with Applejack once a week was a delight. But the farmer could notice the undertones. Yeah, I don't sound excited? Rarity changed the subject immediately. How about you? What made you pull away from your chores to come here? Taking another swig of wine, the farmer smiled. Well, like you said, free wine. I can always finish up at the farm at night. It's no bother. Besides, there's good company. She looked at Rarity, eye to eye. The truth was, for both of them, they just wanted another excuse to see an old friend. The unicorn looked away, the tone dampening once more. It must be lonely, being on Apple Acres nowadays. With a shrug and another snack, Applejack responded, Well, I keep busy. I ain't got time to think about all that. It wasn't necessarily a lie. She did distract herself rather easily with her routine. But the need for a distraction in itself called attention. With a light chuckle, Rarity knew it was necessary to shift the subject. Applebloom seems to be really happy with my sister in Scootaloo College. Sweetie Belle often sends letters. They still haven't learned any decorum. The party she talks about. The farmer's face lit up slightly on hearing of her family, thinking about them, wherever they are. Oh yeah, Applebloom's mighty happy. Every time she writes, I can tell she's bouncing off the walls. Giggling mischievously, Rarity took another swig. I think those three might be becoming some sort of item. With an exhale, Applejack took a long swig of wine, and continued in a jokey tone. Oh great Celestia, if the Cutie Mark Crusaders become a polycule or whatever the youngins call it nowadays, I'm fairly sure Equestria's in danger. As if they weren't unstoppable just as friends. They both shared hearty laughter together, thinking about the little sisters and their usual goofy demeanors. After the laughter, quiet once more. That quiet, Rarity didn't like it. She wanted to hear Applejack's voice more. What about your brother? Are he and Sugar Belle? With a nod, the farmer smiled once more. Oh, they still visit once a month. It's always nice to see him. I think they might try to have fillies of their own soon. Though that may only be my sisterly premonition. Just the idea made Rarity giggle. Oh, wouldn't that be something? More apples. Both of them shared snickers at the idea, which once again led to quiet. And that quiet, no matter how comfortable it was, seemed unbearable. Applejack. But she was interrupted. With applause from the crowds and the whistles and cheers, the two brides walked into the middle of the tent, and joyfully began dancing together, slowly accentuated by the music. Oh, that's my cue. With a smile, Rarity lit up her horn, her blue magic soothingly spreading across the room, dazzling everyone. She was a one-mare show. Her pale blue aura covered the room as if it was Aurora Borealis, taking the shape of several doves that took gleeful flight all around them. The band played a soothing, smooth song, which Rarity's magic reacted to, almost pulsating with the sound of the music. She moved her head ever so slightly, feeling the magic and the music as one, and to the farmer, that in itself was a beautiful show. Applejack watched the whole thing, delighted and mesmerized. I always forget how good you are at that. Smiling back, Rarity made it indeed look effortless. Practice makes perfect, darling. The show continued, some doves exploding into stars, turning into butterflies. The audience applauded quietly and were delighted as the two lovers danced. Lyra and Bonbon, in the middle of that crowd, danced slowly, eyes only for each other, smiling deeply. Letting out a chuckle, Applejack was amused, watching the show. Look at those two. Why the heck do they do this sort of thing every decade anyways? Continuing the show with ease, Rarity snickered mischievously. Oh, to give free wine to the whole town, I imagine. Maybe they're trying to make it into a holiday. And Applejack shared on their snickers. They ain't even divorcing. They just love remarrying. Oh, look at us sort of thing. The magical show continued effortlessly, with an alicorn hologram taking flight and prancing around the air gleefully. The alicorn resembled a younger Rarity incredibly. She, however, continued her subtle mockery quietly, Our love is just so special. We simply must make every pony witness it. All eyes on us." With another snicker, Applejack took another swig of the wine, already being over a glass in. You know what that reminds me of? Our princess friends. Don't they got like 10 holidays related to celebrating their love or something? Snickering, she nodded. 11 now, actually. There's a new one upcoming next month, called the Festival of Dreams and Daydreams, or something of that sort. Their laughter faded, but the farmer still smiled. Those two are shameless. I gotta respect it, though. Hell, if I love some pony that much, I'd want to show it off, too. Rarity got quiet, not knowing what to say, and a strange feeling settled in her stomach. Eyes on the Alicorn Rarity hologram that danced joyfully in the air, Applejack leaned back in her chair, a bit forlorn. Kinda crazy, ain't it? Loving someone so loud you claim it publicly over and over. Shamelessly happy. Both of the old friends' gaze rested on the two brides, who embraced each other lovingly, leaning foreheads together, eye to eye, muzzle to muzzle. They had grown so much, but their love for each other remained loud and proud. Much like Applejack and Rarity, they were graying, and yet they smiled like they had everything. And growing old together. The farmer trailed off, not smiling anymore, feeling a bit listless. Maybe it was those words. Maybe it was the mare that said them. Maybe it was the wedding, or the two lovers that she was observing. Or maybe it was just her old age. But at that moment, Rarity felt empty. She shuddered with a sigh, suppressing the quiet desire to tear up. The feeling on her stomach grew larger, twisting itself, and she didn't understand what it meant. Instinctively, she leaned her head on the farmer's shoulder, and just like that, she didn't feel so empty anymore. Her friend's warmth on her side. The wedding-goers applauded as the two brides kissed, and it was Rarity's cue to wrap up the light show, and so she did, turning what remained of her aura into quiet fireworks. And yet, the Alicorn Rarity remained. Her prance stopped, as she floated above them, her loving gaze still on Applejack. "Neat trick, Sugar Cube. She looks lovely." Applejack smiled, recognizing exactly who that Alicorn was. Oh, yes. The involuntary nature of the magic surprised even its wielder, as Rarity got a bit embarrassed with the mishap. With a wave of her horn, the hologram faded. With an exhale, she leaned her head on the farmer's shoulder once more. She didn't understand how or why she felt that way, but she felt utterly exhausted, and didn't want to move. Maybe it was the wine. Maybe. Wrapping an arm around her friend and speaking softly, Applejack showed her concern. "Everything okay, Sugar Cube?" As she rested her head on the nook between Applejack's neck and chest, nuzzling her, being careful not to poke her with her horn. She could feel the vibrations of Applejack's voice through her body, and it felt just right. And yet, she felt that weariness. Just my age catching up to me, I think. She hadn't even noticed how cold she felt until she leaned on the farmer's warm body. Every second made her realize how closer she wanted to be. How closer she needed to be. Why was she feeling this now? She had no clue. But it felt like dominoes that had been tumbling for ages, finally collapsing a tower. Applejack, on the other hand, just looked at her with concern. Seeing an old friend like this, it seemed to be something deeper than hurt, and she'd do just about anything to see Rarity smile. "Want me to take you home?" "Please." The streets of Ponyville were quiet at night. Most were at the party, which still made sounds in the distance, humming alongside crickets around them. The sky was lovely and clear, with the moon and stars lighting their way home. They purposely picked routes away from lampposts, so they could see the night sky with more clarity. They walked together, and Rarity leaned on Applejack, unsure of what was making her so sentimental at this time. She felt a lot, and didn't process any of it. Applejack spoke, and every word, no matter what it was, aided her comfort. The last postcard I got from her was from the Yak Yak stand, believe it or not. I had no idea what Pinky was up to all the way out there. Well, that's our Pinky for you. Letting out a frail chuckle, Rarity just rejoiced in the farmer's scent. The same old smell of farm and apples she always had. She almost forgot to give a reply. That girl's everywhere. Last postcard I got was from the land of the Griffins. For a brief moment, the farmer felt the opposite of homesickness. A wonder for what it was like to be away from home. A longing that led to guilt of even considering leaving. Rarity's mind went elsewhere as she spoke softly. I wonder about the others too. I haven't heard of Rainbow Dash or Fluttershy in a while. She scratched her own chin, remembering. Last I heard of Dash and Fluttershy, the Wonderbolts were torn again, and Fluttershy was following her girlfriend on it. And hey, she might not be a daredevil flyer, but she loves Dash. Speaking even softer, Rarity let out a sigh. I wonder why they never got married. With a shrug, Applejack looked at her. Not every pony does, you know. Not every pony needs to proclaim their love like that, but I'm absolutely certain they love each other just as much, regardless. Letting out a frail chuckle and a smile, Rarity's thoughts went even further. I bet Twilight and Sunset would disagree. Another hearty chuckle from the farmer, as she reminisced in the good old days. Pfft, maybe they would. It ain't everybody that marries on a battlefield, much less has holidays in their name. But considering they are ruling over Equestria together, not to mention the sun and moon, I don't blame them for wanting to show their love to every pony. I would. Would what? Get married. Oh, me too. A moment spent in quiet agreement, and in wonder, and in slight sorrow of the realization that neither of them ever had the chance, and might never. They paused, seeing the Carousel Boutique in the distance, its walls standing ever so fancy, ever so neatly, but inside, empty. She allowed Rarity to lean as much as she needed, with a warm smile. Nearly there, Sugar Cube. But Rarity stopped, pulling Applejack into a hug, which they shared beneath the stars. Her warmth was too enticing not to linger. Her face growing a little red, Applejack didn't dare let go. You alright? I missed you, she spoke softly, eyes closed. With a slight chuckle, the farmer squeezed tighter. We see each other every week, Rares. I still missed you. Rarity clinged tighter. It started dawning on Applejack just how lonely her friend was feeling. She wasn't sure she understood how Rarity felt fully, but as she warmed her up with a strong hug, she could feel her loneliness, and it was one that was quite familiar to her. There were no more battles to be fought, no more adventures to be had, and these two old mares stayed home while all their friends and family went on to bigger and better things. At least they had each other, once a week, and this week more than once, and that held more comfort than either of them expected. They both felt weaker at that moment, but also, leaning on each other, neither would stumble. Rarity let go, beholding her old friend eye to eye, seemingly having suppressed tears. I'm ready to go home now, she said, without energy, breath smelling of wine, perfume smelling of flowers. They continued silently, speaking only when they made it to the entrance. Would you like to stay for a bit, dear? Now that had a bit of energy, a certain longing. Tilting her head, the old farmer did not understand. Why? Do you need help with something? Just company, really. There's a hint of desperation that was hidden behind Rarity's voice, as she smiled at her friend. And again, it was as if her friend's loneliness was contagious. It was as if her heartache was her own. Applejack looked down sadly, but then tried giving her friend a comforting smile. Sorry, Sugar Cube. I still gotta close down Apple Acres for the night. Besides, we'll see each other Sunday, won't we? No response from her old friend. She just looked down, covered in shadow cast by the lights inside her home. She seemed more than just disappointed. And again, the farmer felt a bit of a sting, a certain heartache shared by the other. They stayed silently at her door, neither of them knowing what to say. Could you at least carry me to bed, dear? I'm still feeling a tad woozy, Rarity lied, simply wanting to have her company a little while longer. Of course, Sugar Cube. With a warm smile, Applejack went inside, where all was quiet. It was still as gorgeous and neatly as ever inside, Multiple dresses rested on mannequins, displayed on walls and tables. No matter how old Rarity got, she never lost creative drive. With her business as successful as it had always been, it seemed that she just lost her energy somewhat. It was work. Work she liked doing, work she loved doing, work she did all her life. It was work. Every day, work on what you love, whether you still love it or not. Work because it keeps you busy. That thought crossed Applejack's mind, and she hated how much it related to her too. Her eyes rested on a shelf, where she saw an old cat toy. Opal had died of old age long ago, but... "Help me up the stairs, please," Rarity beckoned, snapping her out of her trance. With one swift motion, Applejack sat down, and her friend climbed on, clinging comfortably to the farmer's strong back. Alley-oop. To someone as strong as her, Rarity weighed like a feather. She leaned her face on Applejack's neck, muzzle brushing against her mane, letting out a sigh, which the farmer took notice of. "Nostalgic, ain't it?" She smiled. A light chuckle from her, as she clung tighter, enjoying every second of their embrace. "Maybe. Can't remember the last time." And Applejack couldn't remember either. She could have faded out of consciousness there, fallen asleep atop her old friend, but due to the farmer's movements, she stayed awake. "Ever the chivalrous one, aren't you?" she whispered at Applejack, who only smiled in response. She climbed the stairs with ease and calm, while the unicorn clung tightly, inhaling sharply. That same familiar scent of farm and apples made her feel more at home, somehow. Passing by some rooms, Applejack lingered only for a moment over Sweetie Belle's room, likely having gone unused for a long time. The sound of her hoofsteps were the only sounds she heard at all. The boutique was utterly quiet. Finally, entering Rarity's room, she moved by her bed, then cautiously laid her on it, and the unicorn allowed herself to be handled with full trust. And they lingered there for a moment, Applejack sitting beside the bed, and Rarity laying on it, smiling at each other warily, placing a single hoof on the farmer's neck, running it down to her suit, feeling the fuzziness. Rarity sighed listlessly. "You're always so good to me, Applejack." With a slight hearty chuckle and a warm smile, the farmer leaned in and moved a strand of hair away from her friend's tired eyes. "You'd do the same for me, Sugar Cube." This was indeed normal to her. She helped everyone. But in a way, in all truth, she would go the extra mile for Rarity, every time, no matter what. The unicorn didn't respond. Her face simply grew redder as she lingered in the farmer's touch. Closing her eyes, Applejack was going to pull her own hoof away, but Rarity didn't let her. Only a few seconds passed in silence. "I'm going to get you some water for your nightstand. Then I'll leave you be for tonight, alright?" She spoke softly, almost in a whisper. Rarity responded with only a nod. Watching her friend walk away filled her with a hollowness she could not describe or even understand. Her face grew redder as she closed her eyes and wondered if this was just the wine, or if it was just the old age, or something else that could be explained simply. And yet, why did watching Applejack leave that night feel especially painful? In only a day's time, they'd see each other again. And yet, Rarity didn't want to let her go. She didn't want her boutique to be empty again, to shuffle on its halls like a phantom. She lingered on that desperation. She lingered on those thoughts. She lingered on that hole in her chest she had only now noticed, wondering how long it had been there. And she lingered on that desire. Guilt, shame, embarrassment, excitement. Plenty of feelings mixed together as she laid there, coming to terms with the realization that she wanted her old friend for a lot more than just company. "See you Sunday, Sugar Cube." Hello, it's me, Bunny. Again, I'm plugging Cinna, aka Red Hoodie Twin's GoFundMe. He's raising money to get him and his cat Oscar out of an abusive home. More info can be found in the GoFundMe link below. If you do donate, you can take a screenshot of the donation receipt and email it to me at bunnyblastYGO@gmail.com. Then I'll send you the current fics I'm narrating up to 4 weeks in advance, as soon as I finish them. Beyond that, this Tuesday, we're back with Twilight's New Moon, Chapter 3, Electrifying. And next Friday, we will be finishing Making Up for Lost Time, Part 2 of 2. Bye!